When Isabella Lane faced financial ruin, I stepped in and married her. I navigated her company through the bankruptcy process, ultimately leading it to success and a spot on the wealthy list. Yet, she accused me of exploiting her vulnerability and shattering her joy. In retaliation, she flaunted her new relationship with a younger partner, while I remained her hidden husband. Eventually, overwhelmed by despair, I attempted to take my own life and divorced her. But she wept and pleaded, begging me to return to her. The clock struck midnight, and the dinner on the table had long since cooled. Suppressing the bitter feelings swelling within me, I rose and retreated to the bedroom to rest. Today marked our wedding anniversary, and she still hadn't returned home. Most likely, she was spending the night with Ethan. Just as I turned away, the phone rang. It was Isabella. I was taken aback but quickly answered. "Liam, I'm at the Dream Hotel, private room 709. Her message was short but unmistakable. A private room at a hotel, perfect for grand anniversary celebrations. My heart leaped with joy, and I replied eagerly, "Okay, I'll be there soon." As I pushed open the door to the private room, I was taken aback. I stood frozen, staring at the raucous crowd and the banner hanging above. It read in bold letters, "Congratulations Ethan for being accepted into graduate school." Isabella and Ethan were the center of attention, surrounded by admirers. My blood boiled with embarrassment and anger. I glanced at Isabella, who simply clung to Ethan, looking down at me with a slight smirk. Look, he's here. Haha, I told you he would come. What a loser, haha, she's already with someone else and he's still pining for her. A loser who ends up with nothing, ha ha ha. The attendees were my classmates, a group of petty individuals who reveled in exposing others' wounds. I slammed the door and attempted to leave, only to find it locked. Sensing my desire to escape, the group began to restrain me with malicious intent. "Don't go, you're already here. Come on, we were just joking, you took it too seriously. Have a drink with us." They pushed me back into my seat. In the struggle, several glasses of strong liquor were forced down my throat. I was a lightweight when it came to alcohol, and soon I felt lightheaded. I shook my head, trying to clear my mind. When I looked up again, I found myself in my kitchen at home. The food on the dining table was completely cold. A chill ran through me as I staggered toward Isabella. Facing her confused and surprised expression, I frowned and asked, "Do you remember today as our wedding anniversary?" As I spoke, my grievances bubbled to the surface. I pointed at the cold meal and said resentfully, "I spent hours preparing this, and it got cold waiting for you." Isabella's surprise morphed into a playful grin. I frowned, not understanding why she found it amusing. In the next moment, a cup of cold water splashed across my face. The dining table, the food, the clock, all the memories of home crumbled away. The banner, the raucous laughter, the furious Ethan, these vivid scenes reminded me that I was still in the private room. Ethan splashed another cup of cold water on me. The water trickled down my neck and chest, matching my dazed and shocked expression, making me look utterly pathetic. "Liam, stay away from Bella," Ethan said coldly. "If you keep fantasizing about a woman who doesn't belong to you, I'll make you regret it." Laughter erupted from the crowd. What a loser, even dreaming of marrying her. I wanted to escape but was pinned to my seat, unable to move. "Why are you in such a hurry to leave? We haven't had enough fun yet." "Leaving? That would be disrespectful to us." I sat in the corner, praying for the party to end quickly. The group began playing Truth or Dare, laughter and screams echoing throughout. This time, Isabella was chosen, and her dare was to kiss a man present. My heart twisted in pain. I didn't want to witness her kiss Ethan. That would feel like a death sentence for me. I kept my head down, unwilling to watch. But the anticipated cheers and applause never came. The room fell into an eerie silence. A shadow loomed over me. "How can you kiss with your head down?" I looked up suddenly to see Isabella regarding me with a mocking expression. She lifted my chin and whispered in my ear, "Wedding anniversary, make it up to you." Her intoxicating scent clouded my already foggy mind, and I looked up, waiting for that sweet kiss. "Ha, a sneer." Isabella tossed my hand aside and walked away with a light laugh. She turned and passionately kissed Ethan, who fell into her embrace. I couldn't take it anymore. I kicked open the door and fled in disarray. I think there was a time when Isabella and I were truly in love. We met at a campus dance. Our waltz steps were perfectly in sync, just the two of us. After the dance, she nestled in my arms, laughing joyfully, pure and vibrant, stirring my heart. I noticed her. Later, we unexpectedly crossed paths again at a business meeting. We suddenly realized that we were both the rumored heirs who had just returned to the country. I was the heir of the Carter family, and she was the heir of the Lane family. We were a perfect match, destined for each other. I began to pursue her, and her responses grew increasingly enthusiastic. We dined together, shopped, exchanged gifts, and spent the entire day together on Valentine's Day. Everyone believed we would end up together, and so did I. So, on the day Isabella went bankrupt, I presented her with a contract and a list of assets, telling her that marrying me was her best option. I safeguarded her company through the bankruptcy process. She stared at the thick contract for what felt like an eternity. In the end, she signed repeatedly with trembling hands, her eyes red, cursing me, taking advantage of the situation, seizing power. Is this amusing to you, Liam? On our wedding day, she told me flatly that she didn't love me and that our marriage was merely a strategic alliance, each playing their own game. She suppressed the news of our marriage. But the next day, she publicly declared her love for Ethan. I told myself it was fine, once she had her fun, she would return to me. A small cry jolted me awake. Wait, why is it a woman's voice? I opened my eyes abruptly. Next to the bed sat a naked woman, softly crying. This shocking scene hit me like a sledgehammer. No way. I lifted the quilt and realized I was also naked. The woman, noticing I was awake, sobbed, "Last night you got drunk, and I took you to the hotel to rest. But as soon as we arrived, you suddenly pounced on me, pinning me down and then, boo-hoo." I held my head, trying hard to recall the events of last night. Didn't I flee home in a hurry? No, that's not right. I never went home. The door to that private room was locked tight. They had repeatedly pushed me back into my seat when I tried to leave. I drank glass after glass to drown my sorrows, feeling dizzy. The last memory I had was of a woman supporting me out of the private room. Liam, we were classmates, and yet you ruined my purity. I stared at her and asked, did we really, last night? What else? I rubbed my temples, feeling irritated. How much money to keep you quiet? No amount of money can make up for my purity. Enough, I shouted sternly. How long are you going to play this game? Such schemes aren't even worth my attention. As the heir of the Carter family, countless women are vying for my attention. This trick of a drunken one-night stand is outdated. I grabbed her chin, staring into her eyes. Do you know that men can't even perform when they're drunk? I was completely wasted last night. How could I have had sex with you? If you want money, just name a price, otherwise, get out. The woman hurriedly dressed and fled the hotel in a panic. The memories of last night's party gradually resurfaced in my mind, and I sat dazed on the bed. After a long time, I got dressed and walked out of the room. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Isabella leaning against the wall, smoking, as if she had been waiting for me for a long time. Why do you like this kind of woman now? Isabella asked coldly, exhaling smoke. I glared at Ethan, who stood beside her, love bites visible on his neck. Ethan was the only one aware of my marriage to Isabella. Sometimes, watching his clumsy and amusing attempts to win her affection made me want to laugh. Feeling a surge of annoyance, I turned away, not wanting to look at her. Why? You can play with men, but I can't play with women? You were the one who said we should each play our own game. She stubbed out her cigarette and changed the subject. Do you know why I came to find you? I suddenly sensed something was off. Isabella and I never shared our whereabouts, so how did she know I was in this hotel room? Isabella chuckled and tossed her phone at me. See for yourself. I took the phone, my frown deepening. On the screen was a post made by that woman, explicitly naming and accusing me of forcing her. The accusation was vivid, filled with details, and very graphic. Reading it made me want to end it all. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but Isabella snatched the phone back, her eyes filled with disgust and disdain. Liam, do you really enjoy taking what you want by force? Wasn't taking me enough for you? Now you have to force respectable women too? My heart sank. Too exhausted to explain, I strode forward without looking back and said, then let's get a divorce. I'll give you your freedom. As soon as the words left my mouth, even I was shocked. I couldn't believe I had just suggested divorce. After all, we both knew that in this marriage, I was the humble one, the one trying to hold it together. Isabella was momentarily stunned, then sneered. What a joke. I'm not joking. We can divorce right now, I said firmly. I heard the sound of a phone shattering behind me. Isabella yelled angrily, divorce? Don't even think about it. I spent money to limit the spread of the post that slandered me, but the content was so sensational that many people shared and commented on it. More and more people found my phone number, and I received constant calls cursing me, filled with vile content. I knew I couldn't endure it any longer. I tracked down the woman who had framed me and served her with a lawyer's letter. I informed her that the court session would start next month and that if she revealed the truth now, I might consider seeking a reduced sentence for her. The woman panicked and told me the whole truth. The more I listened, the deeper my frown became. Ethan told you to do this? Yes, the woman nodded frantically. He said if I took some compromising photos with you and posted them online, he would give me $30,000. I thought it was just a small matter. I didn't expect it to lead to a criminal offense. Ethan. I savored the name, wanting to chew it up and spit it out. I stood up and said to my serious-looking lawyer Daniel, make sure the punishment is as severe as possible. Ignoring the woman's desperate cries behind me, I strode out of the negotiation room. I sent the evidence and the lawyer's letter directly to Ethan. I told him that unless he and the woman publicly posted the truth online and made a video apology, I would definitely take them to court. 2 hours later, Isabella brought Ethan to see me. Ethan entered and immediately knelt down. "Liam, I was just trying to play a joke on you. I'm really sorry. I had no idea it would have such an impact. Please forgive me." Isabella pulled Ethan up, saying tenderly, "Don't kneel, stand up. What can he do to you?" I looked at the two of them coldly, watching their little performance. Isabella calmed Ethan down and then frowned, ready to negotiate with me. "Liam, do you know how much damage a lawyer's letter will do to Ethan? If you really take him to court, he will be expelled." "And what about me?" I retorted. "Does the harm done to me not count?" "What harm?" she asked, surprised. "You're a man, you won't suffer from such things." I couldn't help but laugh. I opened my messages and showed them to her. "Rapist. Go die." Besides the abusive words, there were many terrifying images filled with curses against me. Seeing these messages, Isabella fell silent. After a long time, she took my hand gently. "Just endure it for now. Ethan worked so hard to get into graduate school, it wasn't easy for him." "And was it easy for me?" I asked, feeling she was a stranger. "We both worked hard to get into this school, enduring so much hardship. Doesn't my hard work count?" I took out my phone and enlarged a photo to show her. Because of my reputation as a rapist, I was expelled. Isabella's face showed some hesitation. She gripped my hand tightly, forcing a smile. "Liam, it doesn't matter if you're expelled. You're the heir of the Carter family with your own company and wealth. Even without this degree, you'll still be successful. But Ethan came from a poor background. Without this degree, he will have nothing." I raised my hand to stop her. "What does his misfortune have to do with me? He framed me first. Everything that has happened is his own fault. Why should I bear the consequences for him?" Isabella's face showed a hint of anger. "So, no matter what, you want to disgrace him and make him drop out? He has another option, prison. He can choose," I said without backing down. "Either he publicly apologizes or I take him to court." She pointed at me. "Liam, you've got guts." Ethan's apology video eventually went online. Overnight, it became a trending topic. I thought this would clear my name, but people were no longer willing to listen to explanations. He's the heir of the Carter family, rich and powerful. Finding a scapegoat is easy. So pitiful, forced to be a scapegoat. Just got into graduate school and forced to drop out. Sigh, what's wrong with this world? Comment after comment twisted the truth. Anyone with half a brain could tell who hired these trolls. I called Isabella directly. "Did you hire those trolls?" "So what if I did?" My hand tapping on the desk stopped abruptly. I never expected Isabella wouldn't even pretend anymore. She didn't know that those relentless abusive comments had driven me to the edge. Now I could only sleep with the help of sleeping pills. I was even diagnosed with moderate depression. After a moment of silence, I spoke wearily. "No one wants to believe me, and I was expelled too." "Are you done?" came the immediate response. I didn't know if she had genuinely forgotten or was pretending. This school was the same one we both worked hard to get into, enduring so much to be admitted. To me, this school held the memories of our youth. I fell silent again, and after a long pause, I spoke tiredly. "Isabella, let's get a divorce." This was the second time I had mentioned divorce. There was a long silence on the other end. I continued saying everything I had been holding back. "Since you already have someone you love, I'm willing to step aside. Being with you is exhausting. I don't want to compete for your favor or anxiously wait for the scraps of your affection. Let's pick a date and get divorced." There was another long silence. Finally, Isabella's weary voice came through. "I don't agree. We'll discuss it in person when we have time." "All right, in person." I rubbed my forehead and hung up the phone. An assistant walked in and handed me some documents. "Mr. Carter, there's a business partner who wants to meet with you this afternoon." I tossed the folder aside, annoyed. There are so many business partners. If they all wanted to meet me in person, would I still have time to handle my duties? The assistant awkwardly replied, "This business partner brought a large overseas deal worth $5 billion. I paused. "Okay, schedule a meeting." Looking at the young woman in front of me smiling broadly, I couldn't believe she was the business partner who brought the $5 billion deal from overseas. "I'm Mia, pleased to work with you. Pleased to work with you." I tried hard to ignore the overly enthusiastic look in her eyes and started reviewing the project proposal. Mia, however, kept chatting non-stop. Feeling helpless, I put the proposal away and smiled at her. "Mizzen, can we focus on reviewing the project proposal first?" She tilted her head, showing a disappointed yet hopeful expression. "Mr. Carter, you really are forgetful, huh? Have you forgotten me so quickly?" I frowned, confused. "Do we know each other?" She sighed, took out a little bunny keychain from her bag, and waved it in front of me. "Does this remind you of anything?" I stared at the bunny, racking my brains but coming up with nothing. She sighed heavily. It's been 5 years, but I still remember. 5 years ago, we met at a matchmaking event. I liked you a lot, and then, a blush rose on her face, then you rejected me. You said you already had someone you liked. I cried, and you gave me this little keychain to cheer me up. She put the bunny keychain back into her bag as if it were a treasure. I smiled helplessly. 5 years ago? That's indeed a long time ago. Not for me. My feelings haven't changed in 5 years. I like you, and I'm going to pursue you again. Her words shocked everyone. I hurriedly covered her mouth. What are you talking about? She cheerfully removed my hand. I haven't forgotten you in 5 years. I came back to find you. Since you don't have a girlfriend, I'm going to pursue you. I smiled helplessly. You've got it all wrong. I'm already married. What? Her mouth dropped open in shock. I smiled and asked, why would you think I don't have a girlfriend? She fumbled and nervously explained, people in love have a certain sweet aura around them, and there are many little details. She said a lot, but I zoned out. No wonder no one ever thought Isabella and I were a couple despite being secretly married. Maybe my smile was too bitter, and Mia stopped her incessant talking, embarrassed. Are you okay? I came back to my senses, looked up at her, and smiled slightly. I'm fine. Let's talk about the contract. Isabella came home reeking of alcohol. I helped her onto the sofa and covered her with a blanket. Lie down first, I'll go make some hangover soup. As I turned, a hand suddenly gripped my sleeve tightly. Liam, we won't divorce. Her drunken voice was full of grievance and affection. I stopped in my tracks drunk, her body was soft and pliable. She clung to my stiff form, her breath heavy with alcohol. Liam, we won't divorce, we'll stay together. Liam, Liam. She called my name repeatedly, full of dependence and warmth. I sat beside her, gently stroking her hair. Bella, why don't we divorce? You don't love me, and you have Ethan now. I'm just your hidden husband. Divorcing me won't cost you anything. Her heavy breathing stopped abruptly. I sighed softly and stood up. You haven't been drunk for too long, your acting isn't convincing. When you're drunk, you only hold my face and kiss me, you don't speak logically. And this time, your divorce talk is too careless. Her grip on my sleeve tightened suddenly. I took off my shirt and covered her with it. If you still want to keep acting, then sleep well. Heh. She sneered, her face paling as she sat up. Liam, I won't divorce you. Why? I asked, puzzled. Liam, because I want you to be miserable forever. I want to use marriage to lock you away from any chance of happiness. I laughed, pulling a cigarette from under the sofa and lighting it. You play with men, I play with women. How can marriage restrict me? She patted my face and said, because I am your unforgettable first love. Even if I am moldy and rusty, I am still your unforgettable first love. I held her hand. If I remember correctly, I am also your first love and your unforgettable first love. You can cheat, but I can't. She was momentarily speechless. I smiled. Let's divorce. I'll give you a huge divorce settlement. You can live comfortably with that money. Liam. She was furious, knocking a wine glass off the table and grabbing my collar, shouting, money, money, money is everything to you? Is it all about benefits? You married me for shares and now want to divorce me for benefits. Why are you always so rational? Can't you sweet-talk me like other men? Are you crazy? I pushed her away. You're simply unreasonable. Get out. Isabella spat the words through gritted teeth, pointing to the door. I grabbed my coat and opened the door. A body suddenly lunged into my arms. Mia scratched her head and laughed. Seems like I came at a bad time. I pushed her away and strode toward the elevator. Eavesdropping isn't a good habit. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. She explained, pulling out a stack of documents and handing them to me. This contract is urgent, so I had to bring it to your home. I took it, opened the folder, and began to read carefully. These figures, Liam. Mia interrupted. I plan to pursue you again. She looked at me, her eyes full of determination. I'll wait for you to divorce, then I'll pursue you. I won't give up like I did 5 years ago. Feeling helpless, I lifted the folder and patted her head, joking, all right, young lady, I'll wait for you to pursue me. She chuckled. A cold, abrupt voice echoed in the empty stairwell. Liam, so this is why you want a divorce. Isabella stood with her arms crossed, staring at me darkly, her eyes shifting between Mia and me. If this is why you want a divorce, then I disagree even more. She stepped forward, looking down at Mia coldly. Little girl, rushing to be a mistress, don't you have any shame? Mia retorted immediately, you, a cheater, are worse than a mistress. Seeing the two about to argue, I quickly pushed Mia into the elevator and pressed the down button. Isabella grabbed me, standing on tiptoe to grip my collar, and asked angrily, cheating? Get lost. I pushed her away, straightening my disheveled collar, equally angry. What right do you have to say that to me? Damn it, Liam, you have a wife. Isabella, did you ever think about having a husband when you were with Ethan? I was so angry I was shaking. Your cheating is justified, but if I do it, it's outrageous. You're so hypocritical. I am innocent with Ethan. This made me laugh. So many blatant love declarations on social media, kissing in public. That's called innocence? I was too lazy to argue with her and turned to leave. As I turned, Ethan stood there, tears streaming down his face, looking at Isabella in disbelief. I sneered. Such innocence indeed. I insisted on divorcing Isabella, but she stubbornly refused, leaving me frustrated and exhausted. Isabella, what will it take for you to agree to a divorce? Unless you die. A cold voice came from the other end of the line, followed by the beeping of a hang-up. I sighed lightly and had just put down the phone when another call came in. Hello, Liam. Is this Mr. Liam? This is a City First hospital. Please come quickly. Mom, Dad. I cried hysterically, clinging to the coffin, not letting anyone approach. Mr. Carter, let go. If we don't bury them soon, we'll miss the auspicious time. No, I won't. I clung to the edge of the coffin, refusing to let go. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my arm, and my consciousness slipped into darkness. The sedative has taken effect. Take Mr. Carter to the hospital. Hurry and bury Mr. and Mrs. Carter. My depression worsened. I could barely distinguish between reality and fantasy. In a daze, I seemed to see my parents standing in front of me again. Mom, Dad, you're back. I sniffed, feeling pitiful. Liam, don't be afraid. Mom and Dad will always be with you, but I can no longer feel your presence. I grabbed their clothes, the remaining scent was almost gone. Liam, remember the jade pendant Mom gave you? It's our family heirloom. Do you still have it? I remember. I nodded frantically like an obedient child. With it, Mom and Dad will always be by your side. Okay, I will find it. In my memory, that jade pendant was placed in the bedside drawer at home. I returned home from the hospital and opened the door. In the living room, Ethan was kneeling in front of Isabella. Sister Bella, I don't want to break up. I'm willing to do anything as long as we don't break up. Isabella impatiently handed him a contract. Breakup fee, $5 million. Sign it. No, I don't want it. Ignoring their melodramatic scene, I went to search the house. I turned the place upside down but couldn't find it anywhere. Liam, what exactly are you looking for? The jade pendant, my family heirloom jade pendant. Isabella frowned. The pure white bodhisattva one? I reached out. Yes, that one. Give it to me. She lowered her head, not looking at me, and asked, is it very important? I replied irritably, yes, it's important. Give it to me. Isabella came forward and hugged me. A very bad thought flashed through my mind. I started trembling all over. Liam, I'll find the best jade carver to make an identical one for you. I pushed her away, trembling, trying to suppress my breakdown. Isabella, what do you mean? She looked up, her eyes filled with guilt and caution. Liam, that jade pendant was lost a month ago. Ethan said he liked it, so I gave it to him. Later, he lost it. I really didn't know it was so important to you. Slap. A crisp slap echoed. Isabella's eyes were full of shock. My hand trembled as I slowly approached her neck. I imagined gripping her neck, tightening and tightening. Isabella, how could it not be important? I told you personally at our wedding that it was a family heirloom. I always kept it in the deepest part of the drawer. How did Ethan see it? Isabella's voice began to tremble. Liam, let me explain. Isabella. I screamed, collapsing, tears falling like rain. Why did my parents die? Because you kept calling and bothering them while they were driving. If you didn't want a divorce, you should have come to me. Why bother them trying to persuade me not to divorce? Isabella, you've won. I covered my head, squatting in pain, screaming in despair. After a long time, I looked up and spoke firmly to Isabella. You said you'd only divorce me if I died. Fine, I'll go die now. In an instant, I rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and slashed at my neck with all my strength. In my last memory, I only remember the blood covering the floor and Isabella's frantic cries as she tried to stop the bleeding from my neck. Isabella finally agreed to the divorce. After we walked out of the civil affairs office, I never saw her again. She said that as long as she was alive, she would never give up on reconciling with me. I just walked away without looking back. Mia held my hand, carefully glancing at the heavy bandages around my neck, and handed me some documents. These hospitals all look good for treating severe depression. I didn't take them, staring out the window at the rapidly passing trees, muttering, find a hospital with the most trees. It was spring, and everything was coming back to life. I thought maybe I would too. I transferred to a suitable rehabilitation hospital, but the treatment wasn't effective, and my condition even worsened. Mia began to doubt the hospital's competence and arranged for me to be transferred again. She pushed me through the lush garden, excitedly making plans for our recovery trip. I looked up, smiling at the young girl who stayed by my side. Mia, my voice got stuck in my throat. I saw a fleeting figure among the trees and froze. What's wrong? She asked, puzzled. I shook my head. Nothing, maybe I just saw wrong. Oh, she kept pushing me forward without stopping. The gate was getting closer and closer. Stop, I shouted, startling her. What's wrong? I grabbed her hand, hurriedly saying, I think I saw Ethan. Ethan? She asked, confused. I nodded. She laughed with a hint of cruelty. I'll have someone check right away. If it's really him, then things will get interesting. After spending a long time with Mia, I discovered that her personality wasn't as simple as it seemed. She was very cheerful, especially towards me. But in business, she was ruthless. She didn't hesitate to use underhanded tactics when necessary. Just like now, in front of me were two people tied up and covered in blood. Liam, one is Ethan, the other is his sister. They're twins. The person you saw in the hospital was his sister. She removed the gag from the person on the left and handed it to me. That person gasped for air, screaming, it was Ethan. Ethan made me do it. He said if I changed your medication dosage, you'd never get better. I personally pulled the gag out of Ethan's mouth and asked softly, Ethan, we have no enmity. Why are you doing this to me? Ethan struggled like a fish out of water. Because I hate you. I hate that Bella loves you. From the beginning, she's only seen me as a substitute, a tool to annoy you. I was so happy when you two divorced. I would never let you recover and rekindle your relationship with her. I gagged him again and remained silent for a long time. There's no chance for us. I stood up and walked out of the interrogation room, saying to Mia, hand them over to Isabella. She'll know what to do. Mia grabbed my hand, her eyes showing a hint of panic. Are you going to forgive her? I smiled, lightly brushing her cute nose with my pinky. Young lady, you think too much. She was still flustered. Come abroad with me for treatment, leave her completely behind. I smiled helplessly, stepping forward to hug her. Don't be jealous. Aren't we a couple? We need to give each other a sense of security. So, I'm willing to go abroad with you. Deal. The plane slowly descended, and the high-rise buildings of a city gradually appeared on the horizon. After 5 years, I had returned. Mia sat next to me, angrily flipping through a magazine. What the heck? Now they're writing about deep love. I rubbed her head, laughing. Why are you angry when I'm not? Let me read you what these marketing accounts are saying. Miss Lane kneels in public to beg for forgiveness. Who is the person she's begging? Miss Lane holds a press conference revealing shocking secrets of the rehabilitation center. Isabella, heiress of the Lane family with a net worth of tens of millions, still unmarried. What secrets is she hiding? I laughed out loud at her tone, leaning over to look at the so-called shocking secrets. The 10-page article, tens of thousands of words long, detailed the love-hate relationship between Isabella and me. After I left the country, Isabella went into a downward spiral, kneeling in public to plead for my return. She even sent Ethan to a mental hospital where he was tortured day and night. Upon learning that I was returning, she meticulously prepared to welcome her ex-husband. I raised an eyebrow, finding it amusing. Mia tightly held my hand, saying, do they think I'm dead, ignoring the real wife? I chuckled. All right, I'll show them who the real wife is. At the airport, cameras and reporters were all focused on Mia and me. Isabella stood in the center, holding a large bouquet of flowers, waiting for me. After 5 years, she had lost a lot of weight, and the look in her eyes was much more humble. Seeing Mia and me holding hands tightly, a severe pain flashed in her eyes, but she still forced a bitter smile. Liam, I have a lot to say to you. I raised my hand to stop her, lifting my and Mia's interlocked fingers high and said, I know what you want to say, but there's no need. Mia and I are back to get married. The wedding is in a week, and everyone is welcome to attend. With that, I held Mia's hand and walked out of the airport. Isabella somehow got my phone number and sent me a video. I clicked on it, and it showed Ethan being tortured. Liam, I took revenge on him. Will you forgive me? I shook my head and sighed softly. Perhaps in this relationship, no one was completely right or wrong. I handed her an electronic invitation and said, you're welcome to attend my wedding. Then I blocked her number. Isabella died, committed suicide. She died the day after my wedding. She attended the wedding but only watched from a corner, alone and lonely. I didn't see her at the wedding, I only found out from the media reports afterward. She died, and I didn't feel any sadness. I truly no longer loved her at all. When I was doing laundry, I stumbled upon a pair of my partner's underwear and noticed a small hole in them. It looked like it had been burned by a cigarette, but I had quit smoking over a year ago. The hole was on the lace trim, barely visible unless you looked closely. With my years of smoking experience, I could tell right away that this yellowish burn mark was definitely from a cigarette. My heart raced. I had stopped smoking long ago, and my partner didn't smoke either. What could this mean? I stood in the bathroom, holding the underwear, and my mind began to race. The more I thought about it, the more convinced I became that I was being betrayed. Just then, my partner sent me a message. "Hey, I have to work late again tonight. You should go to bed without me." Mia's job was something I had helped her get through connections. She worked as an HR assistant at a private firm, a position I thought would be easy for her. But lately, she had been working late often, coming home close to 10 every night. At first, I didn't think much of it, assuming she was genuinely busy. But now, something felt off. I suppressed my frustration and replied, "What time do you finish? I can come pick you up." "Oh, no need. You know how busy it gets at the end of the year. I have no idea when I'll be done." I quickly changed and drove straight to Mia's office. The lights were on, and I could hear faint voices from inside when I stood at the door. Could they really be working late? I didn't rush in. Instead, I took out my phone and called Mia. "I don't feel comfortable with you going home alone. I'll wait downstairs. I told you it's not necessary." "No worries, I'm already downstairs." Mia's voice changed, a hint of panic creeping in. "What? You actually came? Why did you come?" "Why did I come?" "To see what you're up to." I didn't say much more. After hanging up, I hid in the stairwell. A few minutes later, Mia came out, followed by a man in a suit. They embraced as soon as they reached the elevator, kissing each other goodbye. While they kissed, the man's hands wandered over Mia's body. Suspecting something was one thing, but witnessing it was another. My anger clouded my judgment, and I felt a rush of blood to my head. I wanted to burst out and confront them. Then I heard the man laugh. "Your boyfriend really cares about you, huh? Don't mention him. He's like a leech, so annoying." Mia's words felt like a bucket of cold water over my head, momentarily freezing me in place. The man continued with his crude remarks. "Why don't you let him wait downstairs while we continue? What are you thinking? He could come up at any moment. Last time he called you, we tried it once, didn't we? What are you afraid of? Oh, you're so bad. I hate you, damn." I was already part of their twisted game. The urge to confront them both intensified. Just then, the man's face came into view. It was him. Mia had previously posted photos of company outings on her social media, so I recognized him. This man was the company's deputy manager named Ethan. He looked decent, but knowing he was engaging in such shameless behavior with a subordinate made him a total scumbag. Moreover, from the way he spoke, it was clear he relished the thrill of deceiving me, treating me like a fool. Suddenly, I didn't want to confront them face to face anymore. If I revealed the truth, we would just end up fighting, and I would break up with Mia. That would be too easy for them. Before Mia entered the elevator, I secretly snapped a photo of them holding hands. I took the stairs down, and Mia was already waiting by her car. I pretended to be oblivious. "I thought you'd take longer, so I went to the first floor to use the restroom." Maybe because I had interrupted her fun, Mia rolled her eyes slightly and complained, "It ended early. Hurry up and open the door. I'm freezing." On the way home, she pretended to be very tired and closed her eyes to rest. Perfect. I didn't want to talk to her much either, fearing that if I started, I wouldn't be able to resist questioning why she treated me this way. That night, while she was asleep, I secretly checked her phone. The more I looked, the angrier I became. Mia had been seeing Ethan for months. She joined this company in June and started getting close to him in August. Recently, they had crossed the line, using late work hours as an excuse to have an affair openly in the office. While they were fooling around, I was at home cooking and doing laundry for Mia, worrying about her being too tired at work, fearing for her safety on her way back, and dreaming about our future together. She described me to Ethan on WeChat like this: "I'm pretty, so shouldn't he comply with me? He's easy to manipulate, never suspects me, and is willing to spend money on me. Whether we get married or not is uncertain, and my parents always want me to find someone richer." She also said, "What's so good about your old hag at home? She's old and boring. Why don't you divorce her? If you get a divorce, I'll break up with him." I can't believe these words came from the person lying next to me, but the thousands of chat messages felt like whips striking me. Mia was right. Before today, I never doubted her, never questioned her schedule, never checked her phone, so she felt safe not deleting the chat history. I looked at the person sleeping next to me and suddenly felt she was so dirty enough to make me sick. The next morning, Mia's phone rang while she was putting on makeup. She answered naturally, saying, "Hello, Mr. Chen, what's the matter?" Yes, okay. I'll try to arrive early today to go over things with you." I asked her, "Is there something at work?" "Yes, the boss is urging me to go quickly. It's the end of the year, lots to do. I'll probably have to work late today." I looked at her brightly painted lips and tight-fitting dress and pretended to be concerned. "Why don't I find someone to get you another job? I can't bear to see you so tired." "No," Mia shouted. Then she realized her reaction was too intense and smiled awkwardly. "I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. I'm still young, it's normal to work hard. Besides, you already used your connections to get me this job, I should consider that too, right? When she was leaving, she wanted to kiss me. Just thinking about how she used that same mouth to kiss that jerk last night made my stomach churn, so I quickly pretended to look for something to avoid her. Mia and Ethan had it all planned out. When she called him while I was around, she called him Mr. Chen. When I wasn't around, she called him darling, baby, husband, and even daddy on WeChat. You can imagine how depraved they were in private. Ethan deliberately chose to call at this time in the morning, maybe flirting in front of me thrilled them. Damn it, since they love to play so much, I'll play along to the end. I looked into Ethan's background. It turns out this guy not only has a wife but also 2 kids. His wife quit her job after having the children to focus on taking care of the family. His parents are retired teachers and live in the same community to help with the kids. I spent some money hiring someone to follow him for a while and discovered another secret about Ethan. This bastard is still entangled with his married ex-girlfriend. Every time they meet, they go straight to a hotel. Wow, just wow. He's keeping the home fires burning while flying flags of infidelity outside. To outsiders, Ethan might seem like a successful man with a perfect family and career. But in reality, he's just a flashy fraud full of lies. The more dirt I have on Ethan, the better it is for me. I collected all sorts of evidence and even managed to find the contact details of his family, his ex-girlfriend, and her husband. In the era of big data, no one has any privacy. One day, Mia lied to me again, saying she had to work late. I coldly replied, okay, don't forget to eat. I'll be worried if you get too hungry. You too, babe. Eat well. That evening, I parked outside her company and used a new phone number I had prepared to send a message to Ethan's wife. Does your husband often say he has to work late? You better pay attention and don't be foolish. Some people enjoy going back to old flames a bit too much. She called me almost immediately. I hung up. She had to resort to texting, who are you? What do you mean? He has a long-term ex-girlfriend, right? I left it at that. No matter how much she asked, I didn't reply. For a woman who puts all her energy into her family, just a little bit of doubt about her husband is enough. I waited patiently in my car, and sure enough, soon enough, Ethan came downstairs. He looked tense, running towards the parking lot while frantically explaining something on the phone. I laughed. Seeing that bastard scrambling away was truly hilarious. Mia followed with a constipated look on her face. As soon as I saw her coming out, I hit the gas and left. Ethan's wife might be a housewife, but she's no pushover. Her parents run a business locally, and she has 2 older brothers. She was spoiled growing up and is known to have a fiery temper. Ethan was already entangled with his ex-girlfriend, and with my tip-off, if his wife started digging, it wouldn't end well for him. So, he kept a low profile for a while. Not only did he start coming home on time every day, but he also stopped flirting with Mia on WeChat in the middle of the night. This infuriated Mia. Like all mistresses aiming for the top spot, Mia looked down on the legitimate wife. She messaged Ethan on WeChat, "What's so great about being controlled by that tigress? She's old and fierce. Am I not better than her? Ha, how naive." Married men like Ethan, especially those who are content with their lives, want a stable family with a wife and kids while also having fun on the side. Home is home, and play is play. They keep them very separate. But despite saying this, I needed to help her a bit to keep the game going. To provoke Mia, I started treating her very differently over this period. When we fought, I stopped giving in and often made her so angry that her face turned red. "Liam, you're yelling at me. How dare you yell at me? Yelling is the least I should do. I should be slapping you instead. Was all the kindness you showed me before fake? Men are truly scum. Once they get what they want, they stop cherishing it. I don't cherish you. Think about whether you deserve to be cherished before you insult me." I let her throw her tantrums, not even bothering to comfort her. I shrugged. "Think whatever you want." This provoked Mia even more, and she began to send Ethan frantic messages while I was asleep. She even threatened him, saying if he dared to ignore her again, she would confront his wife directly. This scared Ethan. Moreover, Ethan, being tightly controlled by his wife, was also feeling stifled. So, they came up with a plan, a business trip. As soon as Mia walked in, she headed straight for the bedroom to pack her clothes, unable to hide her excitement. "Babe, our company has arranged a last-minute HR training. I have to go on a business trip tomorrow." "Oh, for how many days?" "Just 2 days. I pretended to ask her, "Honey, did you forget that tomorrow is Saturday? We promised to have dinner with your parents." Mia was busy picking out clothes and didn't even look up. One meal can be rescheduled anytime, but this training opportunity won't come again. I sneered, finally getting the chance I needed. She and that scoundrel had gone to great lengths to meet secretly. The scoundrel, afraid his wife might call the office, actually arranged a real business trip for himself, but he would leave on Friday and be back on Saturday. As for Mia, she lied to me about a business trip, planning to spend the entire weekend with the scoundrel in a hotel. I found the hotel reservation information in her text messages. Since Ethan was under his wife's close surveillance, Mia had to handle the hotel booking herself. She had even bought a set of super sexy lingerie, sneaking it into her suitcase. She never even wore that lingerie for me. The next day, Mia didn't let me take her to the train station, and I didn't insist. She said she would miss me, but her heart had already run away, eager to meet her lover. After she left, I didn't sit idle. I bought a few gifts and headed to Mia's parents' house. Their home was less than 2 hours' drive from the city. Her parents didn't have steady jobs, and there was a younger brother who did nothing but play video games all day. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, Mia doesn't know I'm here today. Actually, I'm planning to propose to her. Her mom and dad exchanged a glance, smiling but not too warmly. Liam, you've been dating Mia for over a year. It's time to talk about marriage, but getting married is no small matter. I quickly said, I know, getting married requires both families to sit down and discuss everything. Don't worry, Mia is a good girl, and my family will show enough sincerity to marry her. Her dad's eyes lingered on the gifts I brought. As parents, we don't ask for much, we just hope our daughter can find an understanding family who values and treats her well. That's all nice to say, but what does understanding and valuing mean? It's about how much dowry the groom's family can give. Mia's parents had asked her many times how much dowry my family could provide. I had already done my research. In their area, a typical dowry ranged from $66,000 to $88,000, not excessive. But if that were the case, her parents wouldn't be beating around the bush with me. I smiled. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, you're right. Rest assured, my family's dowry will be more generous than others, ensuring Mia won't lose face. Her dad cleared his throat at my vague response. Her mom got the hint. Liam, my daughter has a bachelor's degree and is beautiful. You probably don't know this, but even though I say Mia has a boyfriend, matchmakers are lining up to propose for her. Last month, our neighbor's daughter got married with far fewer conditions than Mia, yet the groom's family gave a dowry of $200,000. I calmly said, Mrs. Johnson, my family will give a dowry of $500,000. How much? $500,000. $500,000? Her mom was so shocked she almost jumped up. Her dad, who was drinking water, choked and coughed repeatedly. Liam, are you serious? Your parents agree to this too? I suppressed the mockery in my eyes. Yes, I discussed it with my parents, and they agree. I showed the old couple the fake chat records I had created. Her mom instantly beamed with joy. Look at me, Liam has been here for so long, and I forgot to make him some tea. I stopped her. Mrs. Johnson, I'm not done yet. The house I'm living in right now was bought for me by my parents with full payment. I will add Mia's name to the deed. If Mia marries me, I want to give her a sense of security. Upon hearing this, they were so happy they didn't know what to say. What are you standing there for? Go wash some fruit for Liam. I heard the sound of video games coming from the bedroom. I knew it was Mia's good-for-nothing brother, Jake. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I think it's not good for Jake to stay home all the time. Her dad shook his head. This rascal, we found him several jobs, but he didn't like any of them. The easy ones pay too little, and the well-paid ones he finds tiring. He stays home every day, driving us crazy. A friend of mine has a company and needs a driver to pick up and drop off clients. The pay is nearly $10,000 a month. Should I ask for Jake? It's an easy job, good pay, and flexible hours. What do you think? Her parents were so excited they wouldn't let go of my hand. Really, Liam? If you can do this, you'll solve a big problem for our family. Her mom raised her voice by 8 octaves. I've always told her dad that Liam is the right one. We can trust Mia with him. He's a reliable and good boy. Ha, you weren't saying that when you called Mia to come back for a blind date. No matter. Life is a play, and it's all about acting. Then Mia's parents insisted I stay for dinner, but I politely declined. My schedule was very tight today, and I had important things to do. I arrived at the hotel Mia had booked at 10 o'clock that night. The person I had arranged was already waiting at the hotel early in the morning. After Mia checked in that afternoon, he sent me the room number. I then sent this room number to another person. Bro, this is all I can do for you. Half an hour later, a man with glasses and a burly man entered the hotel. I hid by the stairwell and watched. The man with glasses pretended to be hotel staff delivering something and knocked on the door of room 8402. When the door opened, the burly man kicked it in. Mia's terrified screams echoed immediately. It wasn't too late, so many people were still awake and came out to see the commotion. I mingled with the crowd, secretly recording. The man with glasses wasn't just anyone, he was the husband of Ethan's ex-girlfriend. A man sharing the same fate as me. Yesterday, I sent him photos of Ethan and his ex-girlfriend at the hotel. Then I told him that if he wanted to vent his anger, I could help. As long as he didn't go too far, Ethan wouldn't dare call the police. Thus, we have the scene before us. Ethan definitely didn't want this to blow up, or his lie about the business trip would be exposed along with his affairs with 2 women. It would ruin him and bring chaos to his family. The man with glasses, having had enough, grabbed Ethan's chin and made him promise never to contact his ex-girlfriend again before letting him go. Seeing Ethan kneeling and begging for mercy was immensely satisfying. On Sunday morning, Mia returned home with her suitcase, looking exhausted. A conspicuous red mark on her neck stood out. "Babe, you're back so soon. Why didn't you tell me? I could have picked you up." I pretended to know nothing. Mia lied without missing a beat. "The training ended in 1 day, and I missed you so much, so I rushed back." Tisk tisk tisk. A liar's mouth is full of deceit. I suspiciously looked at her neck. What happened here? An allergic reaction? I went for a massage session with colleagues, and it turned out like this. I'm really annoyed. I wouldn't have gone if I knew. Massage? She really came up with that. I had noticed last night that Ethan had left a hickey on Mia's neck. I was curious about how Mia would lie about it when she came back. I didn't expect her to cover it up with a massage session. Mia chatted with me for a bit and then excused herself to take a shower, taking her phone and hiding in the bathroom. She was actually checking on her lover's injuries. I held back and didn't expose her lie. Their carefully planned secret meeting had gone awry. Ethan was scared after the beating and had retreated into his shell. He didn't dare say a word to Mia at the office, afraid someone might notice. He still didn't know who had exposed his affair with his ex-girlfriend. Ethan even convinced Mia to delete their chat history, but luckily, I had already backed it up. Mia was displeased again by Ethan's withdrawal. No mistress would be satisfied when the man she thought she had successfully captured returned to his family. While chatting with Mia, I deliberately brought up Ethan and his wife. "Babe, I think I saw your deputy manager on the street today hugging his wife, being so gentle and considerate. He's such a good husband." I kept praising Ethan's wife, saying how beautiful and classy she was and how Ethan was so attentive to her, a perfect husband. Mia's lips twitched with anger, but she couldn't show any signs of it in front of me. She kept pestering Ethan on WeChat, "How long do you want me to wait? I don't want to sneak around anymore." A few days after the dramatic confrontation, Mia's company's annual party was approaching. The party was set at a 5-star hotel, and she had a solo singing performance. I volunteered to help her with the background video for her performance. The day before the party, I called Mia's parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I plan to propose to Mia tomorrow. Can you come and witness it?" "Of course, no problem. I want to surprise her, so please don't let it slip." "Haha, we definitely won't. By the way, Liam, about Jake's job. I was so busy I forgot to tell you. My friend said he agreed because of my request. After all, Jake is my future brother-in-law, just like my own brother." "Oh, Liam, you're the best. We need to take Jake to thank you properly someday." Mia's parents thanked me profusely, and I said, "We're all family, it's the least I can do." Throughout the conversation, I emphasized one point: Mia and I are getting married, so helping Jake is only natural. In other words, if Mia and I don't get married, her brother has nothing to do with me. Mia's parents were so overjoyed that they couldn't wait for us to get married. I even heard that her parents had started looking for houses with her brother. Go ahead, be happy. The more joy now, the greater the disappointment when the truth comes out. All of this is caused by your precious daughter. The next day, Mia woke up early to spend 2 hours on her makeup and hair, then set off in her expensive dress. I didn't need to ask to know what she was thinking. At the company's annual party, the senior executives would bring their spouses, and Mia was determined to compete with Ethan's wife. I dropped Mia off at the hotel and then snuck in myself. The hotel lobby was big enough. I hid in the most remote corner, pretending to be on the phone. The staff assumed I was part of the company and didn't ask me anything. When the party officially started, the boss and vice presidents took turns giving speeches. When it was Ethan's turn, I sent a text to his wife. "Mr. Chen is such an excellent man and deserves a better woman. If the love is gone, it's gone. Do you think a forced relationship will be sweet?" When he held me and said, "You are a shrewish and boring old woman, I really felt sorry for you. Today, I have a performance. Watch carefully and see if you are more suited to be with him or if I am." Ethan's wife was happily holding her phone, recording the event. But as soon as she received my message, her face fell. "Sorry, but I wasn't making things up." Those were Ethan's exact words to Mia on WeChat. And indeed, that's exactly how Mia feels right now. After Ethan got off the stage, he seemed to notice his wife's mood was off. He asked a few questions, but she kept a cold face and said nothing, staring intently at every young woman who went up to perform. Just then, my phone rang. It was Mia's parents. "Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, you can come straight in. I'm right at the entrance of the lobby." Along with Mia's parents was Jake. Jake, knowing I had found him a cushy, high-paying job, greeted me with an unusually bright smile, calling me brother-in-law repeatedly, something he had never done before. This kid never really respected me, otherwise, he would have come out to greet me the last time I visited their house. I gave him a fake smile. Mia's performance is about to start. After it's over, I'll go on stage and propose. Her company's staff will cooperate. Finally, it was time for Mia's performance. When she took the stage, the lights instantly became romantic and gentle, complementing her delicate makeup and the off-shoulder dress that showed off her collarbones. She looked dreamy and elegant. There was a collective gasp of amazement, followed by cheers and continuous applause. Mia looked at Ethan sitting at the front table with eyes full of provocation, as if to say, "See, I'm young and beautiful. Can that old woman next to you compare?" I crossed my arms, my excitement barely contained. The moment had finally arrived. The big screen started playing the video. After a brief introduction, the beautiful accompaniment began. Mia picked up the microphone and slowly started singing, soon getting immersed in her performance. But she didn't notice the faces in the audience changing drastically. Yes, I had swapped the MV. I kept the music but replaced the visuals with the video of her and Ethan in the hotel room. The video showed a man wearing only boxers being beaten, unable to stand, and a disheveled woman screaming in panic. This first-hand scene of catching adulterers displayed on the hotel's LED screen was incredibly shocking. Mia's parents stood next to me, dumbfounded. Jake was the first to speak. "Mom, isn't that my sister? She actually went to a hotel with another man." "Don't talk nonsense," his mom quickly interrupted, nervously looking at me. "Liam, that person can't be Mia. I know my own daughter, I wouldn't mistake her. It's definitely not her." Jake, stubborn as always, continued, "How can it not be?" His father's stern look cut him off. I pretended to be in a state of shock and disbelief. Of course, I was acting. "Mr. Johnson," her father said with a trembling voice, "there must be some misunderstanding here." As for Ethan, he was still sitting there, mouth half open, eyes wide as he stared at the screen, almost falling out of his chair. Mia, seeing Ethan's reaction from the stage, probably thought he was mesmerized by her. Her expression grew even more smug. The boss and all the senior executives in the front row looked as if they had swallowed a fly. Some people in the back row let out lewd jeers. Mia, singing, noticed something was wrong. The audience wasn't looking at her but at something behind her. She slowly turned around. At that moment, the camera zoomed in on her disheveled appearance. Mia froze on the spot, the microphone slipping from her hand and hitting the floor with a sharp noise. I said with a pained expression, "Mr. Johnson, can you still say that's not Mia?" Her parents were speechless, wishing they could disappear into the ground. Everyone's eyes were now on Mia and Ethan, and of course, Ethan's wife. Ethan, like a dog begging for mercy, was almost kneeling in front of his wife. "Honey, it's not what it looks like. Let me explain." His wife was still relatively calm, her tone not yet showing much anger. "This is what you promised me, that you would never stray. But what woman wouldn't be angry seeing a video of her husband cheating in a hotel?" This was just the calm before the storm. "Honey, let's go home first, and I'll explain everything. One ex-girlfriend wasn't enough, now you've hooked up with this company slut. No wonder you keep saying you have to work late. Honey, I really haven't wronged you." Ethan's attitude of denying everything even at the last moment finally enraged his wife. She slammed the table and pointed at Ethan. "Damn you. Try lying to me again, I'll deal with that slut first, then I'll deal with you." Finally, the wife's fury was unleashed. Just what I wanted. If it weren't for Mia's parents standing next to me, I would have cheered. Ethan's wife, being closest to the stage, quickly rushed up. Mia, terrified, backed away but was grabbed by her hair. What wife wouldn't want to kill the mistress when she sees one? Especially since, in Ethan's wife's eyes, this video might have been orchestrated by Mia herself, deliberately shown during the performance to provoke her. She punched Mia's face. Yes, punched. Most women slap when they fight, but this woman was fierce, her punches swift and powerful. I suspected she had boxing training. "Bitch, do you feel proud being a mistress? Seducing men while singing, thinking I wouldn't notice. Dare to seduce my husband? I'll kill you, believe it or not." Mia screamed in pain, trying to shield herself with her arms, but she was helpless. People rushed to the stage to intervene, others shouted, some recorded, and many just watched, creating chaos. It took a lot of effort to separate the two women, and Mia was already beaten to a pulp. No matter how embarrassing it was, her mother had to go over to protect her daughter. Perhaps because she was beaten so badly and was both ashamed and angry, Mia completely lost her mind, her eyes red as she hysterically shouted at the legitimate wife. "Fine, let's clear things up today. He doesn't love you anymore, got it? He doesn't love you. You two will divorce sooner or later. You think you're something just because you gave him 2 kids? What do you have?" Ethan said, "You're just a slap." Mia was sent sprawling to the ground. Everyone was stunned. Ethan had slapped Mia hard. He pointed at Mia and cursed, "You filthy whore. You've been harassing me since you started working here and tricked me into going to the hotel. I'm telling you, my wife is the love of my life. Who do you think you are to compare with her?" Ethan's eyes were full of venom as if he wanted to kill. I warn you, if you continue to destroy my family, I would rather lose my job than let you or your family live in peace." Mia was dumbfounded. She looked at her lover in disbelief, her mouth opening and closing several times but unable to utter a word. Just before going on stage, they were still exchanging flirtatious glances. But Mia never expected that when confronted with his wife, she was nothing in Ethan's eyes. Ethan's final words were a blatant threat. Ethan turned to beg his wife, "Honey, can we go home now? I beg you, please, after setting up this whole scene, could I let him go?" After watching the drama for so long, it was finally my turn. I composed myself, then ran to the stage holding the bouquet I had prepared. "Screw you!" I punched Ethan with all my might. I had been holding back this punch for a long time. He was completely unprepared, staggering and then falling to the ground. He spat out a mouthful of blood along with a tooth. I had picked Mia up from her company many times, so many people there knew me. My punch seemed justified. I looked at Mia with heartbreak. "I was planning to propose to you today, but I didn't expect that you had been deceiving me for so long. What do you see in this married man? Tell me, tell me." I yelled in a mix of genuine anger and pretense. Mia, feeling guilty and scared, started crying. Her hair was messy, her makeup was smudged, and her face was swollen. She looked truly hideous. I threw the bouquet at her, saying, "Mia, we're breaking up," and walked away. After walking out, I finally let out a long breath. All the patience I had exercised over these days had finally paid off, and I felt a sense of relief and satisfaction. Whatever Ethan and Mia had to face next, it was their own fault. Oh, there was one last thing I needed to do. I compiled all the evidence I had collected: proof of Ethan's hotel stays with his ex-girlfriend, proof of his hotel stays with Mia, thousands of flirtatious WeChat messages between them over the past few months, and even the full video of catching them in the act. One copy for Ethan's wife, one for his parents, and one for everyone in the company, emails copied from Mia's tablet. A mix of family victim support and juicy gossip for everyone. Whether Ethan's wife would divorce him or not was none of my business, but I wanted that scumbag to be utterly ruined. I never thought that after years of watching gossip online, I would one day be making a PowerPoint because I got cheated on. After finishing all this, I had a great night's sleep. Early the next morning, Mia was forcibly brought to my place by her parents, but I didn't let them in. Her parents even tried to plead on her behalf. "Liam, you and Mia have been together for so long. You two have feelings for each other. Don't act impulsively." I maintained a cold expression throughout. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, since you're here, let's clear things up. I thought we could become a family, support each other, and I would gain another pair of parents and a brother. But now, anyway, it's impossible between Mia and me. Liam, calm down and think it over, okay? Mia has learned her lesson. If you still feel angry, you can vent it on her. She will take any punishment as long as you can let it go." Mia shouted indignantly, "Dad." I looked at Mia's face, even more swollen than yesterday, her eyes red and puffy from crying, without a trace of sympathy. "Mr. Johnson, you don't need to waste your efforts. You are a man too. If you were in my place, could you endure this? I've already packed Mia's things. You can take them all back. This place is not a garbage dump. I don't accept any trash." My words were harsh. Mia's body trembled, and she glared at me in anger. What did I say that was wrong? I threw the packed suitcase out the door, then closed the door without another word. Seeing that the situation was beyond repair, Mia's dad started cursing her right outside my door. "Useless thing. Look at the mess you've made. Your mother and I worried ourselves sick over your marriage, and what did you do? You lost your job and made us lose face along with you. And your brother's job and house, all ruined by you, you shameless thing. 50,000 as a bride price. Liam was even willing to put your name on the house deed. Where are you going to find someone like that again? Tell me, what are we going to do now, huh?" Mia screamed, "What does buying a house for your son have to do with me? You kept pushing me to find a rich man just to drain me and support him. Now you're pretending to be loving parents. You dare talk to your father like that?" The sound of hitting, crying, and shouting didn't stop. "Husband, stop it. Stop it. What if someone sees us? Let's discuss this at home. Get lost. I don't have a daughter like you." I watched the scene unfold on the surveillance camera outside and couldn't help but laugh. When I had initially painted a rosy picture for Mia's parents, this was exactly what I wanted to happen. The bigger the promises, the more they would resent their daughter. Ethan's situation wasn't any better. He had to deal with his wife while trying to shamelessly stay in the company. But he couldn't bear the constant gossip and judgment from his colleagues, so he packed up and left on his own. His wife immediately filed for divorce, demanding he leave with nothing but the clothes on his back. The two kids would stay with her, and Ethan had to pay a hefty amount in child support every month. After failing to persuade her otherwise, Ethan initially refused to leave with nothing, preferring to fight in court for the assets. But his parents beat him half to death for his stubbornness. Ethan's parents, who were teachers before retiring, were upright people. They didn't defend their son after he did such a despicable thing. They readily agreed to their daughter-in-law's demands, only hoping to see their grandchildren often in the future. At this point, Mia's ridiculous actions began. Mia's parents originally thought they could use the $50,000 bride price from my family along with their savings to make a down payment on a house for their son. Jake would handle the mortgage payments with his salary. They hurriedly went to look at houses and even paid a deposit. Who would have thought that after I broke up with Mia, all their plans fell apart? But if they didn't buy the house, the $100,000 deposit would be lost. They had to borrow money everywhere to scrape together the down payment. In their family, Mia was determined to climb up the social ladder, and her parents were set on getting a house for their son. They lost all shame and came up with the terrible idea of having Mia fake a pregnancy. Ethan was avoiding Mia, so she went to his parents' house with a fake pregnancy test report. Ethan's mother fainted from anger, and his father called an ambulance and then reported it to the police. In front of the police, Mia didn't dare to lie and honestly admitted that she wasn't pregnant. Ethan was already furious about having to leave the house for his wife. When he found out about this, he immediately took some people to Mia's house and smashed it to pieces. Mia's parents were also furious and called the police again. Both sides biting at each other was such an entertaining drama that it made me laugh for a long time. One night, out of nowhere, Mia called to curse me. "Liam, what are you so proud of? How dare you talk to me like that? Yes, I cheated on you. And Ethan and I didn't just hook up at the hotel that one time, you simp didn't even know." I calmly replied, "Isn't it just overtime? I helped you and Mr. Chen share your overtime records with everyone in the work email group, so all your colleagues can see how dedicated you both are." Mia was stunned into silence. After a long pause, she gritted her teeth and said, "Liam, it was you." Before she could finish, I hung up and blocked her. Mia, who had always been arrogant and thought she had me, the simp, wrapped around her finger, would probably cough up blood when she found out the truth. When someone is despicable, justice will catch up with them eventually. If the heavens don't deliver it, I will.